remain in the United States. So we just have to, see how it completely unfolds. And then on these case, Judge Allison was, sitting, and then this case was, yet to set for hearing on Tuesday, the coming Tuesday. And then I believe the lawsuit already presented the points and then offered a chance to the government. By Monday afternoon they have to respond, and again Tuesday they are going to hear from the legal counsel of MIT and Harvard, and then most likely we might hear a judgment on Wednesday, marking, especially when we look into the details, as per the ICE guidance, specifically when they issued the guidance, they said to the universities that universities should make those kind of operational changes to see which university is offering completely online, complete hybrid, and those kind of things. And then especially online, the universities, those who are doing complete online, they have to submit the change plan, operational change plan, by July 15th. So the case is also set, most likely set for Tuesday, but we might hear between Tuesday evening and Wednesday. So we just have to wait and see how it's going to unfold. And also, the other deadline was August 1st, where the university should go ahead and then update the syllabus with their operational changes, whether the university is going solely for in-person or delayed or shortened sessions of the coursework, or a hybrid plan. So when we look into most of these details, we can see where the administration is coming, kind of putting pressure on the universities to reopen. And then universities are also kind of don't want to lose their revenues, and then this forcing up for opening up the universities, where risking the health of the universities and the the faculty, the professors, and people around. And the other quick point I would like to make here is, when we just have to see how this preliminary injunction is going to play out, because there are several questions that are really unanswered here, where, let's say, as per the ICE guidance, if the students leave the country, if it is a full online work as course load, and then if they want to come back later on, then whether they are eligible for OPT or not, how those things play out. And other thing would be, as per the guidance, they also stated that let's say the university wants to do a hybrid now, but in any case of the second wave of the pandemic, if they want to move complete online, yes, they have to communicate to the service within the 10 calendar days about their change in plan. So which kind of we can know that just weeks before the fall semester, this guidance was issued, where all the university, all the universities, prepped and then ready to go for the full online courses for the fall semesters. And a small point I would like to make here was, the same judge, who ruled, previously that blocked Trump's attempt for the, DACA, the same judge is sitting on this, case as well. I mean, it doesn't mean that, it will be in a similar way, but, just would like to make a point where, in that particular case, they kind of gave the victory to that. And in the recent decision by the Supreme Court with 5-4 ruling, they also blocked the administration attempt to end the DACA. DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals into the country. So kind of it's a political blowback for the administration, the Supreme Court ruling. And other few points I would like to do. especially the previous point that I was mentioning. Um, a lot of support is, you know, is there for, especially for the case, and the whatever the case that the university, brought the MIT and the Harvard together. Most of the universities are rallying behind them, at least to see some kind of, light at the end of the tunnel, where how the court is going to rule on Tuesday. So we all have to wait and see. And then when we are looking into the numbers perspective, almost every year, this is as per the 2018 statistics. There are around 1.1 million international students studying in the United States, and out of 1.1 million, roughly, at least 52% of the percentage of the students are coming from Asia. When we say that at least 370K from China and then 202K from India. And then when we look into, contrary to that, only 26K from Canada and 15K from Mexico. And also UK only accounted for 8% of the international students. So, you can see where the rhetoric is coming from, especially given this administration, you know, um, with the virus and things like that. They're all, going. And when we look into the many of the universities where the STEM students are there, at least, 60% of the STEM graduates are foreign students, foreign born. So they're all, coming under, the F1s, and then, contributing towards the economy. And when we look into, the dollar amount, especially, at least I would say, some of the statistics are saying at least, roughly $48 billion, is contributed towards the economy through this. The statistics are showing that international students are contributing, in a given year, $45 billion. So this is as per 2018 statistics. So, then we just have to wait and see how it's going to unfold, and then, how the students are going through so much, where they have to, in order to comply with all of these things. Let's say if the university is completely going online workload, we just have to think about how students have to break their leases, and then sometimes the families have to split apart, and then, there is a kind of penalty for, breaking those um, leases. And then, given the scenario where the limited amount of travel is allowed right now, so maybe, the ticket prices are going to be higher for the students, to go move back to their home country. And especially given the different time zones, the students are around the world, and, as per the United States time zones, if they have to fit into, they are disadvantaged, because, if they are doing online as well, they might not have kind of, internet connections. If you see some of the countries continuously, they cut kind of the internet for them, maybe for day or two, and then, the students cannot get through the coursework, and then on a different time zones, if they have to, it's a big trouble for the students. And especially it discourages, students, those who are coming from, abroad to study in the United States. So we just have to wait and see. But I guess, the result is going to be positive on this case that is set to, heard on Tuesday in the Boston Federal Court. So, um, yeah, with this, I'll end my conversation, and then I'll go ahead and take some, question and answer questions from the audience.
Thank you, Janetha. So now it's a time for questions. So we have lots of questions uh, coming in. So the first question is like, so what about the students who have finished all coursework but are registered for the dissertation hours only?
So it depends upon whether the dissertation hours do come under, the kind of full registration. I guess they wouldn't really come under the full registration. So they should be good on those lines. But definitely, please, any questions that at any point of time you have to run it through your school DSO, and then make sure, just don't assume, make sure that this is what it is, the dissertation is not being affected, and then that you don't have to leave the country. And also get the revised I-20s from the universities as suggested by this guidance.
Okay. So the second question is from Aditya. So if we leave for India before the fall semester and want to come back to the United States before the fall semester, will there be any hassles in the custom?
You I mean, in the first place, I don't advise travel. But let's say if there is an emergency, you have to travel, make sure that your university is either following an in-person or a hybrid method. Otherwise, you will not be allowed. Recently, one of the Harvard student was denied entry to the United States, by the CBP, stating that the university, I mean, he's attending Harvard, his coursework was fully online. So make sure before leaving the United States, what kind of program was designed by your school, whether it is completely online. I will never suggest you to leave. If it is a hybrid method or in person, then you can, but make sure that you also have a word with your school DSO before leaving.
Yeah. So the second question, it's a common question regarding CPT. So like, so if I'm doing a full-time CPT, that is work from home, can I take 2 online courses, or should I compulsory take 1 hybrid course? So what are the options in that case?
I think, as per the hybrid coursework, you are allowed to take more than one online. But if it is a regular traditional one, I mean, you have to take only one online. So, the hybrid method suggests that, I think most of the universities are, trying to adopt that hybrid method because it gives the university the flexibility and at the same time the students. So my advice would be, check with the school DSO, what kind of coursework that they are offering. So if it is a hybrid method, yes, you can do more than one online.
Okay. And does this rule has any effect on doing internship in the fall semester
Um,
or
I don't
doing?
think so. See,
Okay.
internship and all were, they issued certain guidelines, but if the internship is there on the first semester, of course you should be able to do it because internship doesn't count under the in person, the traditional setting of the attending the classes. So I believe the internship should be fine as long as still following and complying with the existing rules, where letting the school DSO know, and then maintaining those kind of agreements between the employers and the university and things like that.
Okay. So this is a question from Monica. So in the light of ICE new guidance, most of the schools have shifted to hybrid model, thereby issuing a new I-20 with the remark. My request is to stress on the consequences of it on the OPT.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, in my earlier conversation, we don't have any certain guidelines on how the OPTs, are, let's say if the students are leaving, how it's going to affect. But so far, there are no changes, made to those OPT guidelines and the rules, so it still remains intact. Saying that the underlying course you should definitely attend, whether it is hybrid or in person. So I would say if it is completely online, so you might jeopardize on those one. But if it is a hybrid, yes, definitely that should not impact the OPT application.
Okay. So another question. So if I take 1 class in person, can I take rest of my courses online?
Yeah, it's not that, I mean, one class or two class, your coursework should definitely it's designed individually, like which coursework you take, whether that particular course is whether that comes under full online or hybrid or in person. So these are the key points that you always have to play by, and then get in touch with the school DSO. So if it is completely online, that might get a little bit affected, but if it is a hybrid and then in person, so you should do fine. But please have a word with the school DSO, check with them, how what your coursework is falling under. That's very important, because once you get the revised annotated those I-20s, definitely it shows what kind of program you are enrolled in.
Okay. So another question from Sai Charan. I have recently sent my paperwork to USCIS. My application is still pending and I need to join a day one CPT college by August. That is fall semester. Can you please suggest me the best day one CPT college so that I don't run into any trouble?
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot advise you on those lines. I'm not really sure which colleges do offer, but there are universities out there, those who are, offering the CPT, day one CPT. If you are meeting the criteria to be eligible for the day one CPT, they are still going ahead and issuing, but make sure that, the coursework also falls under those same lines, and then you are eligible for that day one CPT.
Another question. I have finished my coursework and registered for 6 research units. I have filed reduced course load form. Any issues with this approach?
As stated in the guidelines, I think reduced coursework also should be fine, as long as it is falling within whatever the guidelines that were issued. So if it is falling within those guidelines, I think you should be fine. But make sure you do check with the school DSO before making that kind of decision. Yes, they do agree for that decreased, especially those shortened sessions.
Okay. So there's a question. So this person is asking a question for his friend. So his friend is currently working on TPS EAD. His current employer applied for H1 and it was picked and approved, which starts in October. Will this H1 be valid for transfer as he doesn't have the pay studs till October 2020?
So under the temporary protected status, if this person have an EAD, and then I would definitely recommend, if the H1B is already approved and in place, so go ahead and try to transfer right away before October 1st triggers in. But whenever you are going for the H1B, they kind of look into whether you are still complying with the rules that are given on the TPS. If so, I mean, most of the time, attorneys just go ahead and ask, if you are working for that particular employer with whom you already got the H1B, so they try to ask for the pay stubs. So make sure that, under your TPS status, whether that is one of the, requirement. If so, you have to show them the pay stubs in order to, transfer.
Another question. So do international students in United States across universities have a national representation? What can that can also file a lawsuit along with individual universities. The international students also have a legal representation at the national level. So I
Yeah,
think
I think, I mean, we have to, right now, the case together, the Harvard and MIT file, it's in the Boston Federal Court. We just have to wait and see how the judgment is going to be, and then whether it will be implemented nationwide equally, or maybe, the states, the university should, bring lawsuits in their individual, capacities in their, where the jurisdiction is. We have to wait and see on that one. But I guess, once that um, the hearing comes out, and then if it is as per whatever they prayed for, injunctive relief, if that is granted, so at least that kind of gives some time frame so that universities can decide and then move forward with their individual cases on the same lines. But most of the universities are kind of expecting a positive result out of this lawsuit.
So here's a question from Swapnil. If a student has left the United States in March and decided to take the rest of the year, that is summer and the fall semester, completely from their home university, what effect will that have on their current visa status? And will they face any issues while re-entering the states in January 2021 to resume spring 2021 in person in US?
See, if for the spring and the summer semesters, you took them online by staying in your home country, and if you are planning to do the same thing for the fall, definitely, you can do so. And then when you are trying to come back, I mean, it also depends upon the guidelines, whether these guidelines are going to stay, on the similar lines. So let's assume, the same guidelines are there in place when you try to enter back for the spring of 2021. So you have to choose, a hybrid method or an in-person. So, at that point of time, if you still choose, if these guidelines are there, and then if you still choose online, they might deny, your entry into the United States. So make sure that, follow very closely with your school DSO, how the things are unfolding based on this lawsuit, and then how they are moving forward. But if you would like to come back in the fall, right now, and then as these mandates are in place right now, so yes, you cannot come back into the country and then do a full load online. So either it should be a hybrid or in person. So you have to let the university know, go ahead and then check whether the course that you are being offered comes under one of these. If it is full online, then I wouldn't really recommend coming back, because definitely they might deny your entry. And also later on, let's say, if you enter right now on a hybrid course, and later, as per the guidance that we are having today, later on, if the college tries to shift, um, keeping the how the virus is unfolding, how the cases are going, if we are hit by the second wave, if the university decides the hybrid method, and then in person is not working, they have to completely shift online, then at that point of time, the university should let the service know that within the 10 calendar days, that these are all the uh, changes in plan. And then and then at that point of time, if these mandates are still in place, then you will be forced out of the country. So just make sure that the how the coursework is falling under. If it is full load, I don't recommend traveling back right now.
So we have lots of questions coming in. So another question is from Sivaram. So this question is actually out of the topic, but he wants you to answer. So did premium process started for H1? I am F1 status doing CPT. So does this
Yes, yeah,
work for you?
premium process already started for the cap cases on June 22nd. So they are accepting, adjudicating the cases in those fashion. Like, the premium process always guarantees you the case will get adjudicated in 15 calendar days. So yes, they are accepting and adjudicating the cases. And then we are seeing, 3-year approvals these days, most of them.
Okay. So another question from Usha. The policy by the US government to restrict online courses taken by international students, are there any legal constraint that would prevent it from applying in the fall semester? It was only on July 6th that this policy was brought in by the Trump government. Fall semester starts in less than a month.
I know, I mean, as per the guidelines or the Fed, uh, when we go into a little bit background, anytime, they want to introduce in, new thing guidelines, they have to publish in the Federal Register and then allow the public to comment, the comment time frame and all. But in this scenario, that never happened. And then the lawsuit also challenges, one of that, the procedural rules were not followed. I mean, they didn't follow the procedural rules before issuing these guidelines. So yes, when you look into it, just few weeks, shy of starting the fall semester, I mean, students really unfortunately have to go through so much, but I am hoping, a positive result will come this Tuesday or Wednesday. So at least students will have some kind of relief,
Okay. Another question. So is there any lower bound in the in-person courses that we can take? And is there any upper bound in the online courses that we can take?
I mean, I'm not really sure what they mean by lower bound and upper bound, but I mean, when they have to go ahead and then see what the coursework was, labeled, whether it is complete online or hybrid or in person. So, as the rule clearly says, if it is a complete online, you know, per today as we are talking, you have to still maintain, the kind of status. So if it is complete online, you have to leave. So I would say don't make any decision, right away. At least I would say just wait what the universities, are planning to, what their next course of action would be. Hopefully, if a positive result stems out of this judgment, maybe kind of, it's a time buying technique for everybody, or maybe the court can say that yes, I mean, just weeks before the fall semester started, it's really kind of they didn't follow the procedures, and then they can just let go the fall semester, or to be online completely for all of the students. We have to wait and see, but make sure that you are in communication with your school DSO, and then see what your coursework was labeled, whether it's online or hybrid. That's, all the students, make sure that, you are in touch with your school DSO, and then see what your coursework was labeled, whether it's, if it is completely online, just, send them emails most of the time to see what they are trying to do. And then I know most of the students are universities are trying to adapt the hybrid method. So we just have to wait and see how it's going to go.
Okay. So another question from Sai Charan. Is it mandatory for me to complete the coursework on day one CPT completely, or can I drop the course once I get the H1B visa?
I mean, what I would say is once the H1B is approved, the validity doesn't really trigger until, the October 1st of 2020 this year. So you still have to maintain, your given status till your H1B triggers in. I'm assuming that when you say H1B is approved, I'm assuming that it's approved for a change of status within the country. So you should still maintain your given status till September 30th.
Okay. So question from Pranav. If I have to go to India, will I be still enrolled as a student and continue towards the degree online? How long will it be before I lose visa status? How does it affect the stipend from the university?
Yeah, I mean, the stipend, not really sure how it's going to affect it all based on the individual university. But yes, if you are going out of the country and trying to do online, I think being outside the country, you should be fine as long as you are working towards the completion of your degree.
Okay. So question from Aishwarya. So her brother is actually got stuck in India and he left in December. His I-20
Mhm.
got expired. Is it possible to apply for OPT from India?
I mean, right now, whatever the rules state, it's technically not possible to have an OPT application filed from outside the country. So, and also there are several rules where you need to comply with before applying the OPT. So, from out of country, right now, the possibility is not there, as I discussed in my initial conversation. So there are some unanswered questions through these guidelines, how they are going to resolve those, if the students are completely doing online, how will they be eligible for the OPT, I mean, if so, will they make any changes on those lines, whether student can still be eligible for the OPT and apply by being outside the country. I mean, the whole point, if you look into the background of this administration, all they are trying to do is limit the number of persons entering into the country with work authorization, so that way they are not trying to compete against the US citizens in the job market. So maybe I'm guessing they wouldn't really make any those kind of adjustments to have the students apply from abroad. But given the rule right now where it stands, you cannot do it being outside the country.
Okay. So there's a question. So the person's school is actually following the hybrid model, and he has completed his coursework and will be taking up CPT and comprehensive exam for fall 2020 with a reduced course load. Will there be any impact since he won't be taking any in-person classes since he has already completed his all coursework?
So, I mean, I assume that as long as your coursework is within the guidelines that are issued, so you should still be fine. If you are enrolled in the hybrid method and then trying to comply. If you're already done with all the coursework, I mean, then you should technically be eligible to move forward for the next thing, whether it is post completion OPT and things like that.
Okay. So another question. So as heard before, in September, there will be another round of H1B results that should be announced. Is that still valid? And can we expect some more H1B lotteries before end of September?
Right now, we don't have any update on those lines, so we just have to wait and see how it's going to go unfold, because it completely became a black box these days. I mean, they are not transparent. I mean, giving, I mean, being accountable for. And then if you see at the start of the electronic registration, there were some problems that were there, and then some of the cases were completely denied, not given a chance of having the second one. But right now, as per the initial guidances, yes, they said that they are going to I mean, look into the number of cases that are selected and those who applied, and then weigh in if the numbers are there. Yes, they are going to open the second round, but when, we don't know.
Okay. So question from Usha. Has any representation been made to the Indian government to negotiate on behalf of Indian students studying in the US?
I don't think so, because it's not only mm, doing the negotiations with one country. I mean, this rule is applicable to the whole world. So I mean, not really sure whether the embassy is working on those lines, but so far the information that I have, I don't think so.
Okay. So so my college is in hybrid mode and will go fully online for the month of December. Will my F1 visa be revoked in that case?
Yeah, as per the guidelines that we have right now from the ICE, yes, the if they go complete online in December, yes, I mean, you need to leave at that point of time, saying that if these rules still remain at that point, this guidance is applicable. So if we hear, another version, or, from court something, where the students can attend complete online for the full fall, I think you should be fine. But yes, if they are going online at during the December time frame, that's what the rule says, you should leave.
Okay. Question from Tanisha. If we are currently out of United States and have our old I-20 and active F1 visa and savings, do we need to have a new I-20 to enter the United States? I am planning to travel on July 19th and my university is going hybrid.
Yeah, if your university is going hybrid, and then, yes, definitely as per the guidelines, you need to have a revised I-20, stating the same thing.
Okay. And what about the PhD students who are only RA and TA on campus? Can they travel and come back safely?
I mean, as long as the rules are not affecting them, like, for the researchers, it's I think a little bit different how it works. They are not, uh, you know, the rule doesn't say that they have to sit in classes, because their programs are completely different. Maybe once in a week they come and then do the research, but have to check with the DSO. That's what I would advise at this point of time.
Okay. Another question, can students on OPT travel outside and come back? Um, so if the student is on OPT, can travel outside and come back to United States?
Yeah, you can travel outside and then come back as long as you have a valid visa. And also, as you're coming back into the country, entering on the OPT, make sure that you have the employment available, and then an employment confirmation letter stating that you are a required resource, and then um, having a job availability. So you have to make sure that you show those.
Okay.
But if it is not really required, advice to all students, avoid traveling at this point of time.
Mhm. So if the OPT ends on September 27 and if I get my H1B approved, do I need to apply for gap for 3 days, like September 27 to September 30?
Yeah, if you are planning to, work continuously, yes, I would definitely do so. Reach out to the school DSO, ask them to annotate it as a gap, and then issue an I-20. If you are not planning to work for those 3 days, that's fine. You don't have to, but make sure you're also complying those unemployment days of the initial CPT and the STEM extension, where that 90 days, 120, and in total 150 days. You should not be unemployed more than 150 days out of the initial and the 2 year STEM OPT. So make sure you are complying. But yes, as you are eligible for the gap, why not go ahead and ask the university to issue one, so that way you will be maintaining that continuation of the work.
Okay. So what about the international TAs? If they teach only online courses as a part of their teaching assistantship?
I think, yeah, the same rule will be applicable, for them as well. So, if they are falling under one of the category that is mentioned, under the service.
Okay. Another question, can a student still stay in another country and complete their fall semester? Will my F1 visa be cancelled since my university is hybrid? And how will that affect OPT, as OPT needs 2 semesters of full-time study?
Yeah, I mean, OPT rule still remains the same. I mean, see, these are very unusual times. I mean, we never thought that, we will be discussing all of these things. When you look into as per the standard rules, student cannot really attend more than, one online course per semester, or more than one 3 credit hour, course per semester. But the ICE issued those kind of statements and guidances in March, revising them completely, and then taking back to online, keeping the COVID in mind. So maybe we might see those kind of changes as well. But yes, as long as you are attending an hybrid method, and then which is really allowed, I think you should be fine on those lines. If you are planning to stay away and then do those, I think hybrid method also wants you, it's not it's not going to be complete online. It's a combination of both in person and online. So if you are planning to stay outside in a third country and then try to attend the hybrid method, I don't think so you're complying with the rules, because as per the hybrid, you need to have that kind of in person as well. That's what it says, the combination of both. So I would say, if your university is offering a hybrid method, it's better you stay inside the country and then maintain your status.
Okay. So, so as the rule goes, full-time CPT students are not required to take any course for that semester. Is it any different now? If not, then I should be able to take any number of online courses without having hybrid courses as my F1 visa status requirements suffice by CPT.
Shivamji, can you repeat the first two lines of it? Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, as the rule goes, full-time CPT students are not required to take any course for that semester. Is it any different now? If it is not, then I should be able to take any number of online courses without having hybrid course as my F1 visa status requirements suffice by the CPT.
I think for the CPT, specifically the rules haven't changed, but make sure, before you are doing that, have a word with your school DSO and then see where exactly, because CPTs can be part-time and full-time as well. If it is a full-time CPT, then you will be working full-time. But if it is a part-time CPT, you still need to attend some of those classes and then make sure that it is in a hybrid method, not completely online.
Okay, another question. So if I have a job offer in fall 2020, but he needs to leave the United States due to the new rule, will he be allowed to enter the United States for the job?
I think it all depends upon, when you say job, I'm assuming that it will be on the CPT. So, if you are leaving now and have to come back, yes, you have, when you are coming back, if this rule is still in effect, you need to make sure that, you are still complying with the guidelines at that point of time, and then you are eligible to re-enter.
I think these are the only questions we have. Let's wait for 2 minutes if some more questions come in. If anybody else has any question, please post it to the Bhartiyam USA in your chat box.
And also, few points I would like to mention here, before any question pops up. When we look into, as per the source, Voice of America, how many colleges and universities are planning online only classes, and then, the statistics clearly say 9% of the universities are planning for the fall semester exclusively online. So, according to the Chronicle of Higher Education. So, I'm just trying to, have those statistics, letting whoever is online, just letting them know. And also, there are universities, those who are, having those kind of, online and hybrid. And additional 24% say, the universities, 24% of the universities say they are, planning hybrid model. So when we look into the combination of both, so I think most of the universities are interested to adopt the hybrid method, because 9% says that it's complete online, and then 7.2% says they are undecided at this point of time, and 6% says it's in person. So most of the universities might opt for the hybrid method, giving the students a chance to to keep up with their status, stay inside the country, and then maintaining that kind of healthy environment of studies.
There's a question. Is this impact H4 visa holders? I am enrolling hybrid in Georgia and as an in-state student.
Okay, if you are studying, attending the school online, attending the school on H4, this is not applicable to you. I- These, the guidance is only applicable to those who are on, F. So, if you are attending using your H4, I think you don't really need to worry about whether it is complete online or hybrid whatsoever. So this is applicable to F1 non-immigrant students. So then maybe if you are planning ahead on, moving on to H4 to F1 status, you have to carefully look into, and also make sure that you have a word with your school about their qualifying for the OPT, how long you need to be on the F status, whether it is a year or more. So you have to check those in order to be have that privilege, or being on the OPT.
Okay. So there's another question. I am in the hybrid college. Do we need to enroll for complete 9 credits, or we can go with 6 credits for the fall 2020?
I don't think there is any limitation on the credits, but you have to make sure whether I mean, if certain semesters are a combination of 3 or 4 or whatsoever. So I would say hybrid would be fine, but related to the 6 or 9, I think you just need to make sure with your school DSO.
Okay. Another question. If I have a full-time offer since I'm graduating in fall 2020, will I have to leave United States due to this rule? Will I be allowed to enter to do the job?
I mean, if you are eligible for that kind of full, employment, I would definitely advise not to leave at this point of time. So, it's better stay inside the country and then, continue or take up that opportunity to, go ahead and work.
Okay. So because of the lawsuit, is there a chance that the rule changes such that students who are in other country will still be able to maintain F1 visa status and continue fall semester online?
I mean, I guess so. Most of them are, I mean, most of the attorneys are positive on those lines, and even the universities, I mean, are positive about the, outcome that they are going to have on Tuesday. So yes, if the injunctive relief is granted as per whatever they're asking, definitely, if the judge decides that your student should still be able to continue online, I think you should be fine on those lines. But try to be in touch with your school DSO and make sure that you are in communication with them and then asking what's going on.
Okay. Um, so there's another question. So hybrid can mean different things. How does the government interpret the term hybrid courses?
I think they do have a definition that the universities do know what the hybrid method is. If you look into the regulations, they said that hybrid will be a combination of both online and in person. So they just have to. I think universities know what comes under the hybrid method, what doesn't. So keeping those guidelines, what universities already know about the hybrid method, so they will design the coursework in those on those lines.
Okay. So what the lawsuit with the lawsuit filed by the top universities, what are the chances of getting this in favor of F1 students?
I mean, it's not about the top universities filing the lawsuit. It is always based on the facts of the case, how what plays in, especially when you look into in this particular scenario, you know before the rule making, you just have to do, publish, the procedural thing was missing, specifically publishing in the Federal Register and then commenting thing. And then they are asking for certain relief, the injunctive relief, keeping in the view that how just weeks shy before starting off the fall semester, when universities already decided that they want to go online, and after that they put their time and effort into all of these things, designing the programs, and all of a sudden they look into this. So that kind of, how damaging it is, and how the students will, cope up with that. It will be all based on, the facts and how the role will play out. But I think, for students, they can be, optimistic on those lines, I guess. So, as the top elite universities do have that kind of fund set aside for these kind of things. So, they are working on those lines to have that kind of relief. But saying that, we don't know whether the same rule will be applicable nationwide, because, this case was filed.
Okay. So another question: if I am graduating in fall
To that
2020,
particular area, so it will be all based on that. But I think, students can definitely be optimistic on those lines.
okay. So another question: if I am graduating in fall 2020,
Sorry, I think I lost you.
am I audible now?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, good. So if I'm graduating in fall 2020, how will this rule affect in getting EAD card? And if I get the EAD card, will I be allowed to enter United States to do the job if I leave United States due to this new rule?
I mean, I would say, if you are eligible for the, having that EAD card this fall semester, my recommendation would be, don't even leave the country. So, risking that. So definitely go ahead and then, stay, inside the country, and then, make sure that, you have your card, and then whatever the underlying that, when you are saying, okay, having the card, you might, the I-20 states, who is the employer, and things like that. So, make sure that you are complying with those rules as well. But definitely, if not required, advice to all the students really not to leave the country unless and until, if this rule is in place and then your university is completely aligned, then, you need to. But I would say, wait for, a couple more days till you have the decision on those lines from, from this lawsuit, which is pending adjudication. So after that, I think positively, there will be a positive outcome on that. So students really don't have to worry about all of these things.
Okay. So question from Ame: how will this affect students doing co-op for the fall semester 2020?
See, if you are doing the co-op, I think, those rules still remain. It's only, those who are attending. If you are doing the co-op, I guess, you will be going to that location and, kind of, doing the job. So it shouldn't really affect, but as long as if you are also required to, attend some of the coursework, you have to make sure that it is a hybrid method.
Okay. Another question: is it an absolute mandatory to get an updated I-20 endorsing the nature of the course study, that is hybrid or in person?
Yes, that's mandatory. Yes. The rule clearly says that, the guidance says that the school DSOs, school should issue those, revised I-20s.
So we have these many questions. No more questions are coming. Let's wait if there are some other questions. Okay. So because it seems like we are running out of time. So and
That's fine. We can wait for a couple of minutes if people still wants to go ahead.
okay.
Maybe you can open to the floor if people really want to ask in-person questions.
Okay, yeah. If someone has like couple, we can open the floor for like couple of more questions. If people have.
Janetha ji, namaste.
Yeah, Namaskar ji, how are you?
I am doing very well. Yashwant Pathak, hope you remember me.
Of course.
I just came to thank you and appreciate your help.
Yeah, you're always welcome, Yashwantji. And thanks for, giving us the kind of opportunity to give it
Yeah,
back to the community.
oh, absolutely. I appreciate that. And it's great. It's very nice of you to guide our young people. It is very important.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thank you,
much.
Yashwantji.
God bless
Always
you.
welcome, Yashwantji.
How's
Thank you.
Bharti?
Oh,
How's
she's
the
doing great.
young one?
Oh, yeah,
How's
she's
the
doing
young
great.
one?
And yeah, she's doing great, Yashwantji. If you can see the logo, that's what she designed for
Oh,
today's, the background, virtual background. So she's
fantastic.
old enough. Yeah,
Great. All
thank
other
you.
people want to talk to you, so I will stop here and take care. We'll talk sometimes later.
Sure, thank you.
Take
We'll
care.
catch
Yeah.
up. Yeah,
Thank you. Bye.
bye.
Okay. So there's a last question of today. So with the international student in United States, with parents also in United States, can the student move from F1 back to H4 if needed?
Yes, if you are eligible to go back onto the H4, yes, why not? Definitely. You can go ahead and then, do a change of status application within the country and then show that you are eligible for H4, saying that, the spouse is on the H1B maintaining, given status and the marital relationship is, still intact. So show them the evidence and then do a change of status within the country.
Okay. I think those were all the questions that we had today. So thank you everyone for joining us. And before leaving, I request you all to provide your valuable feedback by filling up the feedback form posted in the Zoom chat and and in the comment section of the YouTube live video. And I would also like to thank the participants for joining us tonight, and also Bhartiyam along with Think India Purdue and ISAs at uh, Western Michigan University and the University of Michigan for organizing this webinar. I would also like to thank Telugu NRI Radio for broadcasting this webinar and Niranjan Poduturi from Atlanta for streaming on his Poduturi channel. Sorry if I pronounce this word wrong. So just a reminder that the session is also casted online on Bhartiyam USA YouTube channel. You can also watch this session later also. So in the end, I would just like to say a few words about Bhartiyam. So Bhartiyam is a social cultural organization for Indian students and working professionals in United States. Our members are from diverse fields, including technology, arts, and medicine, etc. We work with a vision to create a platform where Indian youths are empowered with strong cultural foundation and network to collectively work for personal and global aspirations and promote the four C's: culture, career, country, and community. I would also like to introduce Awaz, which is an initiative of the Bhartiyam Student Council to fundamentally think, communicate, and reason about the current system in the world. Awaz aims to ponder, act, and create awareness about various issues by writing blogs, organizing webinars, etc. Thank you, everyone.